So there's something called resonance that's really beautiful, and it's actually what we're doing here tonight. And it's when you use other people to help regulate your own nervous system, right? Our nervous system, you can think of it almost like stepping on the gas or stepping on the brake, right? And stepping on the gas, you get upregulated, you get like sort of fight or flight and agitated. And then stepping on the brake, well, you know what that feels like, feels good. And in times where we're really stepping on the gas a lot, it helps to have the support of a community like this. And what we can do is we can actually, even through the screen, I mean, it's better, of course, if you're actually right next to someone, like breathing them in. But even like this, we can look at each other in our little boxes and feel a connection. And that connection, if it's a good one, if you're with, good people, which you all are, it does something. It actually helps create a sense of well-being. It's almost like, if you're feeling stressed and you have a dog or a cat and you put your hand on their ribs and feel them breathe, or you pet them and put your hand on their belly, and that sense of well-being that you get from that, that's exactly what it is. It's because their nervous system helps to regulate your nervous system. And so I invite you tonight that anytime you need to, anytime you feel the gas pedal being applied, that you can check in. You can, maybe if you want to go on gallery view and just look and know that this whole community of people is here to help regulate you, that we're all in this together. And there might be moments where some of us feel a little bit dysregulated, a little bit like the gas pedal got pushed, but know that somewhere in this group, somebody's also putting the brakes on. And that whenever you do that, even if you can do it for a breath, that you're helping the whole group, that we're creating this beautiful thing together. We're in the midst of everything, we're helping to regulate each other. I think that's so beautiful. So thank you all for being here. And you can just take a seat. You can sit on anything that you like. If you want to sit on support, please do. If you want to have a blanket or pillow, let your arms just be any way that they are, and just let your shoulders drop for a moment, and just tune in and notice in your own physical body, is there any part of you, when you sort of start to consider your musculature, does anything feel like it's been in a perpetual on switch position? Sometimes we can get so tired we don't even realize it, because everything's turned on that just doesn't need to be. And so, is there anywhere, any particular muscle or any big swath of tissue that you could just shut off for a moment? You could loosen the muscles and let them sort of slip off the bones a bit. And then turn your palms so that they're on your thighs facing up. And just let them rest there on your thighs for a moment. And as you do that, bring your consideration, your thoughtful attention into your palms and the backs of your hands. Notice the weight of your hands on your thighs. Notice the temperature and the texture of the air touching the skin of your palms. The temperature of your legs meeting the skin on the back of the hand. All the places where the legs and the hands touch. And then let your hands just float, just barely a hint of an inch or so above the thighs. Just let them come up just a bit. They just hover, where you might even still feel a sort of heat or an energetic connection between your hands and your thighs. They're that close. Notice the sensation on your palms. Might feel like you're holding the air. Can you feel the texture of the air? Feel its weight. Feel the weight of gravity, like water in your hands. and really slow motion. The movement might be so slow that it's almost imperceptible. You could begin to let your hands just float up, just so slow. They just float. It's almost like they're just doing it themselves. You're not even really in charge. You can imagine molecules of air rolling between your fingers. You're going slow, and then eventually, in no rush, get to the point where they come about rib cage level, heart, or just below heart level, and start to slowly turn them towards each other, really slow. And you're paying so much attention to the sensation on your palms, between your fingers, the backs of the hands. And eventually they turn so the palms face each other. And really, little by little, so slow, you can let the hands start to move towards each other. Really slow. And then let them move away a little bit. And then you could keep going like this, a little soft in and out. And you could start to match it with a breath. You might inhale as the hands come apart, and you might exhale as they come nearer, not all the way together, but nearer to each other. And you could also notice any sensation between your hands, any feeling of energy or feeling of like the air pushing up against the palms as they come near towards each other. And you can let the hands start to really slowly connect. Let them connect all the way. And notice the feeling of heat before the hands touch. Notice like leaning in for a kiss, that almost feeling. And then at some point, palms can press together. And leave the pinkies and thumbs connected and the base of the hands connected. Just let the middle three fingers open out into this lotus mudra. And then we're going to turn this. It's called turning the wheel of the heart. And a few times, you're just going to let the fingers start to point forward and then down. And the wrists do a little bit of a roll, and you come right back up to that lotus mudra, Padma. And you can do that a few more times, and it can be faster or slower, but do let it try to have like a metronome kind of a quality, that it's rhythmic, perhaps soothing, and maybe matching with a breath pattern. The next time that you arrive in that open lotus position, just let the palms fold back together again. I'll chant an Om, and you're always welcome to join me from home, or you can just listen. We can all take a deep breath in together, grow wide and spacious. Om. And then we'll start today in just a simple cross-legged seat. And you could we'll add some arms. And we'll think of this first shape like dropping anchor. We're going to work tonight with 3 different elements. In Yin Yoga, we talk about 5 elements. We're leaving off fire and metal tonight. We're going to skip those. And we're going to stick with water and earth and wood. And so we're going to start with water tonight. And for water, you'll focus. It's a lot of focus on the back, especially the low back and the legs. So simple crossed legs. And then we're going to add crossed arms as well. So the arms will just cross, and then any amount that you have of folding forward. So I said I would show you a few options in each one. So this is just the simple way. And then if you wanted to, you could also support yourself with any props. You might put your head on blocks or bolsters, have the arms on the floor instead of on the thighs. When they're on the thighs, you get more compression. Sometimes that might be too much compression. If you want less compression, let your arms cross and rest on the floor and your head on a block or a pillow. And if you want even less compression than that, forget the arms altogether and just do simple cross-legged fold forward. Take as long as you need to settle in. And if you were using music, you could hit play on your music if you choose to use it. Yeah, I always forget to say that. Glad I remembered. So a couple of you came in just as we were starting, and the offering is that we're all sort of co-regulating each other tonight. And then at any point, if you feel like you're starting to step on the gas of your nervous system, just check in. Check in with me, or even take a gallery view and look at all these beautiful people in your community who are helping to hold this space, supporting each other. It'll be a total of 3 minutes on each side of this one. So the water element is really, in Chinese medicine, it's the key to our spark, our vitality. And often when our nervous system is having the gas stepped on it all the time, we can lose our spark. And so in yin and in Chinese medicine, we attend to the kidneys. You can imagine in the low back where your kidneys are. Draw the breath in and water them. Soak the whole expanse of your low back like a garden. Let the breath come in like a sweet, sweet summer rain. And notice the heaviness of your legs. Heavy creatures that they are, let them just really drop. Try to maximize their contact with the earth. Also, we should mention, just because some of you are new here, that if you need to change your position, you are totally allowed to do that. It is not illegal to move in yin yoga. We try to avoid unnecessary fidgeting, but you could take the whole pose to Goldilocks it and get it just right, and that's fine. So on this side, we'll take just a few more breaths, muscles loosening from bones and letting the breath move in that space that you created between the muscles and the bones. Imagine that breathing room. And don't move just yet. Before we do transition, just drop this image into your mind that you move like a mama cow, like a mama cow that's all full of milk, right? So really steady and gentle and soft, close to the earth. So, fussing as little as possible. You could undo your shape, and we'll just go right to the other side. So, you can change the legs and change the arms. As little fuss as possible. And then drop right back in where you were. Try to get right back down into the depths again. As you soften and spread out, and notice the weight of your body on the earth. As you begin to unclench and widen. Notice how you feel. What's the state of your heart? What's the quality of your mind? Do you feel weary? Do you feel hopeful? Do you feel vulnerable? Do you feel sensitive? Whatever it is, try to name it. And then imagine that feeling, whatever that thing is that's most poignant right now in your mind and heart. Picture it like a star in the sky, a star named sensitivity or a star named hope, whatever it might be. And then can you zoom out and picture all the other stars that would be in the sky? And the black milky space that the stars rest in. And, underneath all these things we feel is usually love. And so, could you imagine that space that your stars are resting in, that's love? And there's room for all the other stars. A few more breaths here. Notice any part of you moving away from the earth. See if you can instead move towards it. So, like that mama cow still, you're going to climb on out real slow and notice every little sensation along the way. Be there for it. The after pose. And one suggestion as you come out for a counter pose would be that you could straighten your legs out in front of you. Bring your hands a little bit behind you. Shoulders could even kind of hike up so that you could rock your head into the tops of the shoulders. Let the shoulders press against the base of the skull. You could do big full circles with the head, and you could also let your legs flop around a little bit. They could go side to side or bounce around. If you want more of a counter pose, you could also press into the hands and let your sternum really lift towards the ceiling. So the idea in this in-between time is that you give yourself enough time that the echo of that last pose starts to fade. And so I'm not in your body, only you are. So you can be the judge of when you feel ready for the next one. If you need more time in between, please always take that for yourself. Otherwise, we'll head into one more anchoring pose for the water element. And this is the caterpillar. And so for that one, it's a long leg forward bend. And one option would be just to keep it very simple with no props, have the legs long. Don't, whatever the feet do, they do. If the legs roll out or roll in, just let yourself be as organic as possible here. And the spine is rounding. It's much more about the spine, this one, than it is about the hamstrings or the legs or anything like that. So another way you could work this is you could add support. You could roll up blankets or towels to put underneath the legs. You could put blocks or bolsters underneath your forehead. You could sit on a big pillow. That's really nice sometimes. And, you know, at any point too, you could gather more props, put them on top of you, put them around you. I mean, there's really no such thing as too much support, right? And so take your time, get comfy, snuggle in. We'll be 5 minutes in this one, so you've got a lot of time to really simmer in this one. So go ahead and you can just round and fold and drape your body down over your legs. You let the head go and check in with that. Is that okay to let the head go? If it's not, then you could add some support for your head, put something underneath it. In the Tao Te Ching, it says, can you let the mind and heart settle like stirred up water until things become clearer? Feel yourself in the midst of it all, how you're breathing, how you might even be relaxing a little. You know, it's always uncertain. Feels a little more visible right now, doesn't it? Uncertainty. But the truth is, it's always uncertain. But yeah, more visible now, but we have tools. We can steer away from the mind and down into the heart. It's a lot quieter there. Imagine pouring your mind down into your heart. Still working the water element here, and the energy of the water element is downward energy. Right? Think about water, it's always trying to move to the lowest place. So imagine all the water of you. It would seep towards the lowest place. Let the water of you take the rest of you. Let it take your bones. Let the water carry the muscles low. about halfway, a little more. Just checking in for anywhere in your body that you might be gripping, that the on switch has been in perpetual on, where you might just flip the switch or invite even just a little more ease and softness into some swath of your body, some portion of it. Start to come on out, but even as you do, you can kind of keep a sense of being like a little bit under the water, a little under the surface. And you kind of swim up slowly and gently. And the invitation for your counter pose here is windshield wipers with the hands behind you and the knees just going side to side a few times. Like everything, you could do things at your own intensity, more gentle or less. And it's always, I offer these counter poses, but they're always just an offering. If your body is craving something else, then you can listen to that and honor what that might be. And then for the next shape, if you've got a bolster and a blanket, that would be great, but we can always make do with anything that you happen to have handy. Bolsters, blankets, or you could use pillows, blocks, and towels, or really anything to create a back bend. We're going to do this one and call it the rainbow bridge. And all you're going to do is find something you can stick underneath you to lie back on top of. And the setup that I like the most is to have a blanket rolled up like that. But if you have a towel or anything else, you could use it and put that above the bolster, or maybe you have like a bigger blanket that you would roll up, or you have two blocks and put a towel over them. And then I'm going to invite you to try it a couple of different ways, and you're going to choose what fits you best here. And so, one way to start is to bring your butt up onto the bolster, but it's kind of almost, it's just barely on. Half your cheeks are hanging off, and you're kind of like just the low back and a hint of the tailbone maybe on the bolster. And you can lie back, and the blanket might come sort of mid back or a little towards the under few inches under the armpit area, and then legs can stretch out and arms can reach overhead. So that's one option. That's my favorite way to do it. But if you want more of a back bend, you could slide down and try to bring your butt closer to the floor or all the way to the floor. And that's going to change sort of where the epicenter of the feeling is in your back and probably make it a little more intense. And know when enough is enough, right? Enough is a really good word. So, especially if things have been a lot lately, then this isn't the place to add more to, let it be really welcoming, this shape. And if you need to come out, if you need to put more things under you, right? More under the upper back and the head so that the back bend is even more gentle. Please do that. If the bolster is too much, find something smaller. 5 minutes here, and take as long as you need to get it to fit you. We're aiming for tenderness and sustainability here. Arms overhead perhaps, so you could try that. And that's too much, make cactus arms or open them to a T or put them somewhere else. And invite all parts of you to descend. Let gravity have you completely. And just a simple breathing practice. If you choose to do it, you could also just tune out if you're very happy without it. But you might try just really simple. It's just breathing in and breathing out without any fuss or too much manipulation. And when you get to the end of the exhale, just notice the tiny little space before the next inhale begins. You don't have to hold the breath out, but if that organically happens, that's fine. Just bringing your attention to the pause. It's almost like when a pendulum swings, it reaches its peak, and then there's this pause that's just pregnant with energy, but also totally empty and still before it swings the other way. And if you could live in that pause for even a little tiny sliver of time, that could be really sweet. Noticing where the mind would want you to go. And if it's been telling you a story, especially if it's been one of those same old stories that it always tells, maybe you could put down the story. Move from the mind into the heart where it's quiet. And stay with that little pause at the end of the exhale. Just notice it. So we've moved from the water element here to the earth element now. This is a shape for the earth element. And you could really invite yourself to come home into your bones. If your energy has been going out a lot, start to kind of call it back in, right down into your bone marrow. Notice the weight of the bones of you. Delightful heaviness. Feel all the places where you touch the ground and let them really sink in, spread out. Last half a minute here. You could invite the whole front of your body to soften towards the back of your body. You could invite a breath to slip right between your muscles and your skin. Staying kind of low and slow as you come out of this one. You could curl up over on your side and push your support away. Or if there's another way that it feels good to come out of it, do that gently, feeling every little thing along the way. And you might either stay on your back and hug the knees in and just do a little bit of a rock. Or if you prefer, you could flip around and do a child's pose or even a cat cow if you want more movement. And you're paying attention to the sensation and watching it perhaps get quieter, the echo start to fade away little by little. And we'll take a wood pose as our last pose. And the wood element is associated with the liver. And sometimes when that gets out of balance, it creates anger or a feeling of like we think about wood like in the spring, like a plant that wants to grow, a little tree that wants to sprout. If it gets held down, it's like frustration. And so wood poses are really good for sort of giving a little bit of space to any kind of frustration or any sort of that sharpness of anger. And so for this one, we're going to take a frog. You have a couple of options, two main options here. If you have a wall near you or a bed or a couch or anything else that you could use to prop your legs against, I'll show you that way first. And then if you don't, no problem, I'll show you on the floor. And so if you're doing it at the wall, you could just slide yourself over to the wall kind of sideways and then spin around. And you start almost like just a squat on the wall. Just put your feet on the wall with bent knees. And then little by little, you can start to turn the toes out and slide the feet away from each other and down the wall any amount. The arms can go wherever they want. They could just be out in a T or overhead or even over your body if you need more feeling of snuggling. So that would be one option. The other option is to do it without a wall, in which case you could have your feet together and the knees wide, like a very wide child's pose. And that could be plenty. If you're feeling it, you're doing it, right? If you have sensation, you're on the right path. But if you want more sensation, then you could start to open the feet out away from each other and snuggle back, hips sort of sinking back between the legs. You could always use your support here as well, any amount of prop, okay? But the idea is just that the knees are nice and wide. That's the main thing with this one. So take your time, gather all your things to make you feel supported. And stay in that slow and low, like a cow movement. And we don't want to step on the gas pedal at all. We're just braking tonight. And if you feel like your gas pedal got stepped on, just look up, check in, look in somebody's box, and just know that we're all here for you. Let your body start to become heavy and still. And notice the spaces, the space after your exhale before the inhale begins. The spaces between your bones. Perhaps the space between your thoughts. And let the spaces be there. Don't rush to fill anything. Just let there be space. Also note this can be an intense sensation pose. If you need to lessen it at any point, please do. So the deepest healing takes place when you tune into your body with love. When you listen to it, so what does it say? What does it need? When you thank it, thank you for carrying so much. When you invite yourself to inhabit all of it, move into every layer of your body with your heart and your consciousness. Is there anywhere you haven't been home for yourself? Try to move in. Notice the sensation and where you feel it the most. Where is the epicenter? And when you locate it, notice, do you want to move away or move towards it? If you feel that tendency to steal against what you feel, to pull back, maybe just a maybe, you might soften towards instead, even just for a second. Lean into it. And then just starting to deepen the breath in anticipation of coming back. Feel the breath light up a little bit. And start to draw yourself back in. And if you're face down, you could pull into a child's pose. And if you're at the wall, you could gather in and just fall over to one side. You might stay in a child's pose for a bit or do some amount of moving to wash that one away. I'm going to head into Shavasana. Time flies when you're co-regulating. And so gathering also any extra snuggly clothing you might want. And we could do another really simple breathing practice for the nervous system as we come into Shavasana. So you want to put a blanket under your knees or for a pillow or anything on top of you, please do. And you can do this in any position too. You could be on your belly or side or have your knees bent. Just want you to feel really supported and feel like you have some room to spread out. So there's no rush. You can take as long as you need to make a comfy little nest for yourself. When you do arrive, it's a very simple breath. You're just going to breathe into your own count of 4. And try to hold that breath in for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. And try to hold the breath out for a count of 4. I'm hoping that this doesn't create any stress. If you feel any stressful response from doing this, just let it go and breathe normally. So it's in for 4, your own count, and then hold for 4, and out for 4. And you hold that emptiness for 4. You could do it 2 or 3 times more if you like. And at any point, you could let that go and really slip under the surface. Let yourself be just like a pebble dropped in the water that sinks all the way to the bottom. Let everything still be happening above you and around you, but you just go undisturbed at the bottom. Please feel free if you want to stay for an extended Shavasana. You don't need to come up. Otherwise, you can maybe blink or let your head rock a little bit from side to side, a really gentle and slow awakening. Notice the weight of your body on the earth, temperature of the air around you, the texture of it, feeling of your clothes on your skin, taste in your mouth. You can start to expand out into that space around you. Let the breath open you in all directions simultaneously. Wiggle your fingers. Begin the crawl back. Still moving like a mama cow. Slow and gentle across the fields. You might join me. You could chant an Om to seal it all in, but you can always, if you're not there yet, you can Om from your back or you can stay in Shavasana. We'll take a breath together. Om. You could bring your hands together and notice the moment that they touch. Eyes can blink open. We could look, we can just see each other again here. And you all